Kia ora, kofa Smith aho. Nā mai ki te whare, welcome to the House. On Tuesday we talked with Lawrence Shunan about the purpose and structure of Parliament's post-budget scrutiny week and how he prepared for a week of holding the executive to account. The more cynical might think that that was all very idealistic because politics tends to muddy Parliament's role in providing governance over the government. Politics affects both the answers and the questions. So today we note a few tactics we noted this scrutiny week. The focus is more on the answers because those answering have more tactical options available to them. Whoever's in government though, there are always ministers that genuinely engage in the spirit of the event and others that just seem to really enjoy the stoush.
Unfortunately, the conditions that we have come into, very high government spending, excessive and wasteful government spending, leading to high interest rates, high inflation, economic recession and job losses is the reality of what we are dealing with.
Sometimes that's quite understandable because the question itself is just an attack. The question that Louise Upston was answering was from Ginny Anderson.
What part of the budget reflects economic growth, considering we have lower growth, we have wages that are stagnant, we have businesses closing, and there are more people in New Zealand losing their jobs?
The interchange of Scrutiny Week is very different from question time, but some responses are very familiar, like attacking the party of the questioner or dismissing the question.
Well, I reject the member's characterisation.
Well, I reject that assertion.
Well, that doesn't reflect my understanding.
Differing perspectives and policy tensions dictate that some topics are combative, and sometimes ministers employ a range of tactics to avoid answering. Here, Tama Potaka is asked whether he's been told by frontline providers that the government's policies have increased homelessness. And he answers a slightly different question.
Frontline providers have a variety of comments. They're very happy with the amount of tamariki that have come out of emergency housing, being over 3,000. They have also said that we've been very clear around our expectations regarding responsibilities.
A similar approach is just redefining the question.
Well, I think it's important to very, very clearly clarify whether or not you're talking about uninhabitable housing, overcrowding, people staying in motels, which has gone down by 85%, as you know, including children, or rough sleeping. There's a range of different forms used to define what you're talking about.
Another common tactic is eating up time. Possibly the best exponent of that this year was the Minister of Finance, Nicola Willis, whose introductory remarks were lengthy, but who also went long in other ways, like repetition.
It is an important point that I'm making, so I'll make it again.
Or this.
And I would make 2 points. The first is the one that I already explained somewhat laboriously.
Or lengthy digressions.
Given that the Minister took 5 minutes of commentary to answer 30 seconds of, give me 30 seconds on the direct measures.
Was it 5 minutes?
It was. So I do just want to be very focused on this, and if the Minister could answer the question.
Ministers only appear in these hearings for a limited time. That primary question stretched for 6.5 minutes before it was finally answered, and that restricts just how many questions can get asked. Different ministers have different approaches to tricky or aggressive questions. Some are surprisingly forthcoming, and others tack away. When asked about the influences behind his policy choices, David Seymour used absurdist humour.
I'm the most urban MP in New Zealand. My main interaction with the dairy industry is probably through a flat white.
Nicola Willis responded to a combative line of questions from Scott Willis like this.
Look, Scott, you're a nice man, but I have to say I find this line of questioning rather perverse.
Sometimes backbencher colleagues or even chairpeople intervene to help out with a point of order, or just offer a very friendly patsy.
I don't know if you have any examples of success stories.
Oddly, sometimes ministers get so involved in the tussle that they avoid answers that are sitting right next to them, i.e. the officials. And sometimes, if the officials can get a word in, it's actually positive, and the minister had no reason to be avoiding it. Here, for example, an official answers a repeat of that earlier question about influence that's aimed at David Seymour.
Is it the case that the agricultural chemical reviews was suggested by you?
So actually the agriculture and chemical was actually suggested initially by us.
From these clips, you might come to the conclusion that Scrutiny Week was an endless and frustrating bear pit. But we saw hearings where ministers from all of the governing parties gave good answers and had constructive interchanges with the committees, sometimes even in contentious areas. But examples of good discussions are almost by definition far too lengthy to include in a short program. Good politics is never short politics. You've been listening to The House. E te whakaranga koe ki te whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mā te wā.